President, as our colleagues have said tonight, we can't even remember any other member of the federal judiciary who became a cultural icon recognized only by their initials. RBG did, and she earned her recognition and her place in history through an astounding career fighting for gender equality, for the rights of LGBTQ individuals, for the rights of everybody who had been pushed to the margins of American society. Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump have now, unfortunately, made it very clear that they're going to pull out all the stops to unravel the exceptional work of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And they're going to break their own rule. Their own rule. This is not something that was debated with the other side. They decided to break their own rule pertaining to election year appointments to undo the historical record of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And for a moment, Madam President, I want to compare this to another time. When I was a young man, right out of law school, I served for a number of years as co-director of the Oregon Gray Panthers at home. And back then, just like now, there were a lot of issues that were on people's mind. Just like today, where there's a list of issues miles long, from the rights of LGBTQ plus Americans to workers' rights to the ability of every eligible American to vote and much more. And there was a similarly long list of issues back when I worked with the senior citizens. I made the judgment then, because of spending that time with older people, that health care was far and away, Madam President, colleagues, the most important issue. Because if you and your loved ones don't have your health, then pretty much everything else goes by the board. You can't spend time with family. You can't achieve all you want in your job. You can't even have the chance to walk about outside on a pleasant evening like this. So health care, to me and to millions of Americans, is far and away the most important issue in front of this body. And now this is the one issue that will come up immediately with a Trump-backed lawsuit going before the court soon after the election. So make no mistake about it. And I know it's awfully hard to follow all the legalese and the procedural motions. At one point, my wife said, I think Senator Merkley may have heard this, my wife said she would marry me. She said, "You are a lawyer, not probably a particularly good one, but I was sure glad you did a good job for the senior citizens. But it's hard to follow all the legalese and all the procedure. But when you set aside all of that surrounding the fact that health care will be the one issue coming up immediately with a Trump-backed lawsuit soon after the election, tonight we say to the American people that health care in America is at stake. The Affordable Care Act is at stake. Coverage for 130 million Americans with pre-existing conditions is at stake. If you don't trust Republicans with your health care, you cannot trust Republicans with this Supreme Court seat. Donald Trump and the Justice Department are suing to have the entire Affordable Care Act thrown out. Every last bit of it thrown out. So, I just want to walk through what this means from sea to shining sea. If they're successful, the ironclad guaranteed coverage for pre-existing conditions is gone. The ban on discrimination against women is gone. The ban on annual and lifetime limits, gone. Coverage for young people on their parents' plans, gone. Guaranteed essential benefits for all with coverage, gone. No-cost contraceptives for women, gone. Cheaper prescription drugs for seniors on Medicare, gone. Medicaid coverage for millions and millions of Americans, gone. And most importantly, Mr. President and colleagues, because of the Affordable Care Act, millions of Americans can go to bed tonight knowing that they will have secure, decent health care when they wake up in the morning, and if the Trump lawsuit is successful, it too will be gone. That is the Trump agenda on the Affordable Care Act, ripping it out by the roots, no matter how much pain is inflicted on the American people. And by the way, I made mention of the Gray Panthers. Let's understand, in this country, we always love to move forward. This is a direct trip back. The Affordable Care Act locked in protections for those who had faced discrimination with a pre-existing condition. A victory for Donald Trump in court means you turn back the clock to the days when health care was for the healthy and wealthy, because that's what you have if you allow discrimination against those with pre-existing conditions. In 2017, the president tried and failed to get the Congress to repeal the Affordable Care Act. So he couldn't get it done. My colleagues here, Leader Schumer, Senator Merkley, we all remember that night, John McCain's hugely consequential role. Donald Trump couldn't get the Congress to repeal the Affordable Care Act, so now he's trying to do it at the Supreme Court. Donald Trump's Department of Justice is bringing to the court, along with dozens of Republican state attorneys general, what I think is just a lot of legal nonsense. But that might not matter to far-right activist judges who would seize this opportunity to hand a big, big win to the insurance companies, the drug companies, and other special interests at the expense of Americans who are vulnerable. Particularly after Justice Ginsburg's passing, there's a real chance that the Supreme Court hands down a partisan ruling giving the president the win he wants so much over the Affordable Care Act. If he gets to choose the person who takes the seat held by the revered RBG, the Affordable Care Act is gone, and the Republican health care agenda is coming, and it is coming after vulnerable Americans from sea to shining sea. Donald Trump might tell you something different, but the American people know he doesn't often tell the truth about health care. Once in a while, the truth does come out. That's what happened one day back in May, the last day when he had the opportunity to pull out of this anti-ACA lawsuit before the court. The president was asked whether he might have a last-minute change of heart, but he made his goal clear. He said, I quote, "We want to terminate health care under Obamacare." This was in May. Hospitals in COVID-19 hotspots around the nation were full of Americans at that time who were dying alone amid a global contagion that had shut our country down. Not even a nationwide public health disaster could get Donald Trump to reconsider his position on the Affordable Care Act. If Donald Trump wins the Supreme Court case, having had the coronavirus will be a pre-existing condition, and insurance companies can use it to discriminate against you. It obviously goes without saying that the Trump agenda would leave American health care in ruins. Now, he's fraudulently promised a new and comprehensive health care plan. We stopped counting after 9 or 10 times. But it's all a fraud, because all this administration has done since day one is make health care worse and more expensive for Americans. I've tried to point out, Mr. President, that even Medicare is headed for crisis because of Donald Trump and his incompetent administration. He knew the coronavirus was highly contagious and a lethal pandemic, but he denied it for weeks and weeks while the virus spread nationwide. When the pandemic eventually exploded, the economy shut down, and that has been devastating, as I have pointed out, to the finances of Medicare. The Medicare Trust Fund will be insolvent within 4 years, during the next presidential term. And so we've said on the Finance Committee, where we have jurisdiction over Medicare, whoever wins this election is going to be in charge during the biggest crisis Medicare has ever faced. If Donald Trump is in charge, I believe it'll be the end of the Medicare guarantee of defined, secure, and high-quality benefits for the older people of this country. Seniors may have to figure out some other way to pay for health care and prescription drugs. The bottom line is wiping out the guarantee of health care is what the Trump agenda has always been about. Gutting the Affordable Care Act through regulations, bringing back junk insurance, cutting access to women's health care. If Donald Trump fills the Ginsburg seat and has the Supreme Court totally on his side, you can bet the courts will be siding against typical Americans and for special interests with every opportunity. Let me close simply by touching on one other vital health care issue. Women's health care, particularly reproductive health care, is right at the center of this debate about the future of the Ginsburg seat. Republican lawmakers have been trying to throw that away after more than 45 years of settled law. They've been fighting to go against the majority opinion of the American people and overturn Roe versus Wade, denying a woman's right to access the health care that woman says she needs. Even today, just a few hours ago, Senate Republicans dusted off a decades-old anti-science battle against a safe and mainstream reproductive health medication formerly known as RU-486. The bill they proposed, which Democrats have blocked, comes down to a backdoor ban on safe and legal medication for reproductive health care. Major new regulations that restrict women's access to essential, time-sensitive medications, putting the government right in between women and their doctors. This is wrong, wrong, wrong. Wrong when Republicans were waging the same ideological battle 30 years ago, and wrong when you now try to take away women's reproductive health care choices because more women will die. What sense does it make to bring this anti-science, anti-women health proposal forward in the middle of a raging pandemic? Today, the country crossed a horrendous milestone. 200,000 American lives lost to COVID-19. All that mass death and suffering. Republicans aren't working across the aisle to close the shortage gap on personal protective gear or expand access to care. They're busy spending time waging an endless campaign against women getting health care. With the passing of Justice Ginsburg, the campaign reaches a new stage. In my view, it's not just a question of what happens to Roe versus Wade or access to therapies and drugs. It's about a much bigger and more dangerous proposition: government control over women's bodies. Donald Trump and the Republican Party are working towards that kind of government control, and it means government control over women's futures. That's what's at stake. That's what Justice Ginsburg fought so hard for. She has left a, as I call it, astounding legacy of fighting on the side of fairness and equality again and again for so many people who didn't have power and didn't have clout, didn't have lobbies. What an American hero. In my view, she has made it clear for all of us here that now, to protect her legacy, we have an immediate 5-alarm DEFCON 1 issue, and that is health care, health care, health care. And as I've been saying since late Friday night, if you don't trust Republicans with your health care, you cannot trust Republicans with this election or this Supreme Court seat. Mr. President, I yield the floor.